FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. Today is the 8th of February, 2017. And, well, hey, certain things are just destiny. And one of them, well, a lot of them, Andrew Hoffman's been talking about for years already, and they're all coming to pass. Andy, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Yes, it's almost afternoon, given that I've been up since 2:45, right, doing an audio blog, which everyone must listen to.
Yes.
In fact, I want to tell you what the premise of it is, okay? It's slightly off the beaten topic, but not really. As we all know, Michael Moore might be one of the most polarizing figures in America today.
And repulsive.
But plenty of redeeming qualities. This is a man who, for all the negative, there's plenty of positive. He has been a champion of the people. He has put out some of the most thought-provoking commentaries of our time. And, his greatest flaw is that he's a little too socialistic. And when he puts out all these glowing things about how the world needs to change, he fails to discuss the economics of why they don't work. But
how great Castro is, and the medical care in Cuba is just unparalleled. All this propagandistic BS, that's nauseating.
Yes, but putting that aside, he does put out some compelling work, and he had a documentary that came out last year. I didn't even know it came out, and it was on Amazon Prime called "Who to Invade Next." And so I said, let me watch it while I'm at the gym on my machine, and because I thought it would be kind of about all the wars that we have been in, Iraq and Afghanistan and all that. But actually, one of the main topics was that the reason that we can't really have socialism here is because we spend so much money on war. But what he was doing was he was going overseas and taking the best ideas that other countries have and trying to bring them back here, like how to have a better education system and more civil prisons and healthier food and that kind of stuff. And right at the end of the movie, he's standing in front of the Berlin Wall, the remains of it, where he was in 1989 when it came down. And he just said, call me a crazy optimist, but this wall here proves that nothing is impossible, because no one could believe that wall would come down. It was a symbol of it was a prison. It was a symbol of Soviet oppression, and no one ever thought it would come down. Sure enough, in 30 years, it came down. The world changed, and it just got me to thinking about all of the changes that are going on in the world right now politically. I mean, who would have thought that Hillary Clinton could have lost? Who would have thought of the Brexit, that in France, what's about to happen in all these places, Italy. Because the people are fighting back. And it also made me think of the gold cartel, which has been around 20 or 30 years, as long as the Berlin Wall, which I think is going to go down in flames. And just it gave me a renewed vigor, that and my new computer we were just discussing, a new vigor for life and faith in humanity, and also a feeling that this financial and economic fight that the people are fighting is going not to be for naught.
Yeah, well, the Berlin Wall, it was the American stupidity and naivete that you could trust Stalin that wound up was the cause of the Berlin Wall. And it was Reagan's optimism that brought it down. It wasn't pessimism that brought it down. It was optimism. So there's a lot to be optimistic about.
Yes, optimism and the financial collapse of the Soviet Union, which is kind of like, I have optimism that the cartel is going to come down. But it's that and the fact that they're running out of gold and silver, and there's billions of people around the world trying to protect themselves from the fiat currencies that are crashing because of government policy. That is ultimately going to be a far bigger factor than my optimism.
And the fact that precious metals are approaching their 200-day moving averages doesn't hurt either, right?
Yes, silver is 1780 as I speak. The 200 moving day average is 1792. Gold is 1241. 200-day moving average is 1266. But more importantly, the 200-month moving average of gold is also 1266. And at the time of the election, it was about 1270, which is exactly where gold was trading at the time. So that's another reason why the cartel was so desperate to push it down after the Brexit times 10. That was the Trump victory. But here we are, just 25 bucks away from it again. Silver's 200-month moving average is more like, I think, 1870 or something. But that's pennies for silver, which can move 5% in a day.
Yeah.
So I think that those technical levels, once they're reestablished, is going to break the whole, another meme of BS that swept over the world. Not surprisingly, at the end of the year, as I wrote in my gold bottoming in late December again article, for 6 years in a row, meaning starting in 2011.
Yes.
At the time of the big smash in September, right as the Swiss were pegging the franc to the euro, every single year at the end of the year, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, the cartels attack because they're trying to get the big institutional money managers to get destroyed in the precious metal markets and not come back in. And every time it comes right back. And here we are again. The whole Trumpflation meme is dying. His interest rates are plunging right now. The dollar is having trouble staying above 100 right now. And now you have the debt ceiling issue that's going to come up 1 month from now, which is going to be like nothing. Remember in 2011, when we had our AAA rating downgraded and there was a whole crisis in the markets, that was because of a debt ceiling debacle. You know what the debt ceiling was back then, Kerry?
In 2011, it was half of what it is, or almost half of what it is today.
Yes, it was 14.186 trillion. I'll never forget that amount. And here we are hitting 20 trillion today, 6 years later, as the debt ceiling suspension that backfired on the Democrats is about to end on March 15th or so. And so it's going to be much worse now, not just here, but for the rest of the world as well.
Yeah. Well, what's a debt ceiling among enemies?
Right. But again, the whole Trumpflation meme is about that he's going to have all this fiscal stimulus, which, again, I've said in the beginning, not only is it kind of immaterial. I mean, $1 trillion is pennies. It's nothing. The Chinese have spent $10 trillion. And what has it gotten them? Nothing.
I think 28. They're up to
20.
Debt.
You picked a number. I think their debt went from, what is 8 or 10 trillion, or maybe no, I think it doubled from 15 trillion to 30 trillion just since the financial crisis. And look at what they're doing right now. In fact, we didn't even get to last night's surprise Yuan devaluation as they are falling apart right now.
Yeah, it's remarkable, the scope of the whole thing. Hey, and let's talk about Bitcoin. Right now, it's trading at 1042.96. And, the Chinese tried to rattle the Bitcoin market. And that's the amazing thing. You could talk down the dollar, you can do stuff to gold, but Bitcoin, you could threaten the exchanges. And then, you know what? The innovative Bitcoin holders find another way. And
yes. Life finds a way, like in Jurassic Park, right?
Yeah.
Now, actually, it's 1046 because you have to look at all the different exchanges, and there's still a $30 premium in China, which there wasn't when they had the big, China Bitcoin exchange smash of just a month ago. I mean, incredible how quickly it recouped all the technical damage and was soaring to new highs. It was at 1070 last night. But here's the deal with Bitcoin. Everyone knows my view on it. I couldn't be more bullish about its impact on the world. I mean, it's up to you if you want to speculate in it. That's a different story. I do, but that's not what I'm talking about here. Bitcoin is going to be the future of money, or I should say cryptocurrency is the future of money. And it's why I wrote in December why Bitcoin will make gold and silver go up. It's because I know that the governments are going to very shortly be more fearful of Bitcoin than they are of gold and silver. Also because they're going to be losing the battle of gold and silver because they're running out of actual metal. But it was back in May. We're talking about 9 months ago, where I wrote Bitcoin and precious metal, twin destroyers of the fiat regime. And the reason is they are complementary assets. They're both monetary assets, but gold and silver are the classic stores of value, and Bitcoin, because of its functionality, is going to be taking over the day-to-day transactional money in probably not much further in the future than you believe. Last week in my Audioblog, we talked about how the world is changing, and money is one thing that's going to change as well. But anyway, with Bitcoin, last night we had this. I was even shocked by this. The PBOC, which has been kind of letting the devaluation slow down for a while. The yuan's been slightly moving up because the dollar's been moving down. And now that the dollar is sitting right near its lows for the post-election era, you would think that they would calm down and just leave the yuan where it is, especially after it was just 24 hours ago where the Chinese actually admitted that their foreign currency reserves, which they heavily overstate, went under 3 trillion. So that's something that gets capital flight out of the country. And then at night, with the dollar going down, they have the biggest devaluation in months. It was like 2 or 3 basis points, which is huge. So obviously, either terrified because their currency is collapsing, or they're retaliating against Trump as they said they would for all his draconian currency and trade war salvos. But anyway, when they announced that, Bitcoin, which just this weekend was in the low thousands, went from like 1030 up all the way up to 1070. And so what do when it gets there? After they devalued their currency,
they took it down. Yeah, right.
Yeah, they come in and they go, Chinese PBOC says they want to have more closed door meetings with the Bitcoin exchanges, and so of course Bitcoin immediately plunges from 1,070 to like 1,010, and here as I look now, it's 1,046. Point is, there's, as you said before, you had it nailed right on the head. You can't stop Bitcoin. You could put all those exchanges out of business. It wouldn't matter. In fact, I'm thrilled at what they did last time, getting rid of the margin trading and the free no commission trades, because it's made it a far more stable trading environment. But the fact is, if they tried to get rid of it, it's kind of like in the Michael Moore movie. Like they said that, in Portugal got rid of legalized drugs, and now there's less drug crime. And in Norway, they lowered the jail sentences for murder, and now there's less murders. If you try to stop Bitcoin, it's just going to make it more valuable. And sure enough, this, it looks a lot to me like they're becoming the boy who cried wolf. And pretty soon it's going to be the emperor has no clothes, whenever everyone realizes that you can't stop Bitcoin transactions from going on, just as you can't stop the value of gold and silver from going up. And again, it's these actions that they do that make it more valuable. When you say that you can't do it, and people, all you need is a computer, God, they'll find ways of doing it. Just like when you try to push the price of gold down, well, what do you know? The production of gold and silver is plummeting, and there's no inventory left, and currencies are collapsing because all the money printing that was caused by the suppression of prices is making the demand go up. So again, they're just shooting themselves in the head, and that's why nothing is impossible when it comes to gold and silver.
Well, prohibitions, let them just try to outlaw Bitcoin. It just reminds me of the story my grandmother told me. She said before alcohol prohibition, I know this goes back away for many of you listening. This was in 1919, they banned alcohol. She said before prohibition, we had 1 or 2 bottles of liquor in the house. After prohibition, they had cases of alcohol. They had, plum brandy and, vodka and scotch and Canadian Club, rye whiskey. They had cases of it, and they didn't even drink. They weren't drinkers, but just because it was outlawed, that's why they had it. I remember when they were outlawing assault weapons, Clinton's assault weapon ban. First thing I did was I went to a gun show and I bought myself an AR-15 because I said, hey, the government says I can't have one. I want it. And
why do you think gun sales exploded under Obama?
Yeah.
He was talking about gun control. Exactly. And for that matter, you guess what movie, perfect timing, I just watched maybe 3 or 4 days ago, The Untouchables. And you know what? Al Capone was the untouchable. Never say anything's impossible. No one ever thought they could take him down. And all it took was a simple tax evasion scheme to do it.
Of all the things, they couldn't get him for the real crime, had to be tax evasion, and that's the way the government works. Let's face it.
Because you put your finger you put your finger in the hole, and then the other holes spring up. The government is too dumb. The Chinese government, for instance, is too dumb to realize that all the attention they're giving to Bitcoin and making it seem like it's a threat is making it more valuable. Just like the stupid government doesn't realize that by continually pushing the prices of gold down, they have destroyed the mining industry to the point that not only is the demand higher because the currencies are getting weaker, but there's no supply out there to use to hold the price down anymore. So their demise on both counts, the twin destroyers of fiat currency, is only going to be that much more spectacular. And I mean, tell me, Kerry, how could 2017 end without something terrible happening? I mean, look at Europe. I don't believe that there will be a cohesive European Union by the end of this year. I mean, think about the fact that there's Greece, which is, I said back, it's so funny because a few years ago, what my 2 biggest catalysts were for the big one? It was Greece and India. That was 2 or 3 years ago. And look at this, India's falling apart. Greece is falling apart. They need another bailout, except there's going to be no troika. Germany doesn't even agree with the rest of them anymore. Plus, they're going to have a political change. There may not even be a European Union or a European Commission or an International Monetary Fund, for that matter.
Merkel is hanging on by her fingernails now. She looks like she's
flying in the
finished.
polls right now.
And hey, I don't know if you noticed this, but the German people, Like, there's no gun crime in Europe. You know that, don't you? Well, guess who's stocking up on guns now? The Germans. They found a loophole with mail order purchase of firearms, and they're stocking up on guns by the thousands now.
Well, now it's becoming a cultural war because of the Muslims.
Yeah.
And it's not really about Muslims. It's just about immigrants from collapsing nations. And guess what the biggest reason for that is? The falling price of oil. It's that simple. That and demographics, which have been killing Europe because, again, all of the money printing has caused inflation so high in Europe that Europeans, like Japanese, don't reproduce anymore. And meanwhile, the culture of reproducing in the Middle East hasn't changed one bit. So these people are now fleeing the country. I mean, look at Saudi Arabia, right? It's they finally got rid of the full socialism as of last month because they can't afford it anymore. Yeah. And in fact, today in this audio blog I did, everyone's got to listen. There's a whole section on oil because oil, the whole OPEC thing is falling apart. Oh my God, look at the inventory builds you're seeing now. Yeah. But more importantly, what came out yesterday? Saudi Aramco announces the underwriter for their $100 billion IPO they plan to do next year. $100 billion, the biggest ever.
Biggest
right?
ever, yeah.
And then you go, well, duh, why do you think they're trying to hold the price of oil up? Because everyone knows Saudi Arabia's falling apart. They've been borrowing money left and right. They're cutting off the supplies. They're arguing with everyone in the Middle East right now. They need that money so badly that if oil price falls apart, you're going to see, forget the petrodollar, you're going to see the end of Saudi Arabia as those American-loving princes are overran by I call it like the apartheid of the Middle East, by the people that hate America. So, Saudi Arabia is in big, big trouble. This OPEC production cut BS is in big trouble.
Yeah, and you think Trump's going to come to their rescue?
Trump hates everybody. Yeah. I mean, he hates. Look, I mean, I shouldn't say hates everybody, but he, again, every day you watch this stuff, and for those people who are mad, remember, first of all, I'm more responsible for him getting elected than probably anyone listening to this thing. But I made it very clear that the things he wanted to do are not going to work or be viable, and also that what worried me most is that he's not a diplomat. Even worse than Hillary Clinton, even. And he's fighting with everyone. He's fighting with the Middle East. He's fighting with Mexico. He's fighting with China. He's fighting with the Supreme Court. And of course, it gives just fuel for the fire for these crazy liberals that want to secede California, good riddance, and take over the country. I mean, these trade wars and currency wars are exactly what destroyed the world during the Great Depression. And it's going to be far worse now because we have all the debt that's been built up.
Was it Smoot-Hawley?
Yeah, I mean, and there was 2 billion people in the world then. Now there's 7 billion people in the world. There was no debt back then. Now there's hundreds of trillions of debt. I mean, it's crazy how bad things are going to get when the big currencies start to really start to fall soon.
It's like the Indianapolis 500. People who go there to watch the crack ups, right? Or NASCAR.
Yeah, I mean, not that we're looking forward to it, but that's just what the truth of the world is. It's that simple. Oh God, I mean, we don't have our viewerships and listenerships because we sugarcoat what's going on. It couldn't be more obvious. In fact,
that's right.
I wrote yesterday. A guy I really respect a lot. I mean, he's one of my favorite guys, but he's constantly talking about, hey, the world's fine. Yeah, I hate these doom and gloomers that just, the world will go on. I'm like, dude, you spend your life going around the world and talking about how bad things are around the world. Well, guess what? They're just as bad here. We just have currencies that don't crash as fast as the ones over there. Why do you think Trump was elected, this crazy Trump? Why do you think the Brexit, why are they going to vote Marine Le Pen and all this stuff going on overseas? Because people are pissed off and because people are suffering.
Yeah, that they are. And, having the world's reserve currency, we've been somewhat immune from it up to now. But that day will end, and when it does, it ain't going to be pleasant. And
it's so funny because we've been immune to it, except you look at the numbers. I mean, first of all, you have to do is look at the election results. But, you look at the labor participation rate and the amount of entitlements and the home ownership rate, and everyone's living at home, and the subprime lending and the derivatives and the auto loans and student loans and all these things going on, and the inflation, the cost of living, of insurance and education and rent. All these things soaring, and yet we're going, but everything's great. I mean, it's better than it is in Turkey, right?
Yeah.
It's better than Brazil. Yeah, I guess it's better, but it's a lot worse than it used to be, and it's going in the wrong direction. And I assure you, people,
Sure.
there's not a thing that Trump can do to make it better. I don't care how hard he tries.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, this is so. So buckle your seatbelt, get ready, and buy gold and silver, because
Yes.
what choice do you have?
None. And again, give us a call here. We have at Miles Franklin. We have the new Royal Canadian Mint bugling elk and silver predator lynx are out. We love these limited edition series because right now they trade roughly at the cost of generic maple leaves, and they've always done well. It doesn't mean they will, but they always have. So perfect time to do it. Just give us a call. I mean, you see what's going on in the world, people. I mean, what more do you need to see before you realize something very bad is going to happen very soon?
Absolutely. And hey, while you're at it, go over to milesfranklin.com, subscribe to Andy's daily missive and frequent audio blogs. Go over to Financial Survival Network. We got an email newsletter going out shortly, probably today, early tomorrow. And any questions, comments, etc., kl@kerrylutz.com, kl@kerrylutz.com. Andy, we will catch up with you next Wednesday. Be well.
You too.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Best ideas that other countries have and trying to bring them back here, like how to have a better education system and more civil prisons and healthier food and that kind of stuff. And right at the end of the movie, he's standing in front of the Berlin Wall, the remains of it, where he was in 1989 when it came down. And he just said, call me a crazy optimist, but this wall here proves that nothing is impossible, because no one could believe that wall would come down. It was a symbol of it was a prison. It was a symbol of Soviet oppression, and no one ever thought it would come down. Sure enough, in 30 years, it came down. The world changed, and it just got me to thinking about all of the changes that are going on in the world right now, politically.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. Today is the 8th of February, 2017. And, well, hey, certain things are just destiny. And one of them, well, a lot of them, Andrew Hoffman's been talking about for years already, and they're all coming to pass. Andy, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Yes.
Castro is, and the medical care in Cuba is just unparalleled. All this propagandistic BS, that's nauseating.
Yes, but putting that aside, he does put out some compelling work, and he had a documentary that came out last year. I didn't even know it came out, and it was on Amazon Prime called "Who to Invade Next." And so I said, let me watch it while I'm at the gym on my machine, and because I thought it would be kind of about all the wars that we have been in, Iraq and Afghanistan and all that. But actually, one of the main topics was that the reason that we can't really have socialism here is because we spend so much money on war. But what he was doing was he was going overseas and taking the plea. I mean, who would have thought that Hillary Clinton could have lost? Who would have thought of the Brexit that in France, what's about to happen in all these places, Italy. Because the people are fighting back. And it also made me think of the gold cartel, which has been around 20, 30 years, as long as the Berlin Wall, which I think is going to go down in flames. And it gave me a renewed vigor. That and my new computer we were just discussing, a new vigor for life and faith in humanity, and also a feeling that this financial and economic fight that the people are fighting is going not to be for naught.
Yeah, well, the Berlin Wall, it was American stupidity and naivete that you could trust.
Almost afternoon, given that I've been up since 2:45, right, and doing an audio blog, which everyone must listen to.
Yes.
In fact, I want to tell you what the premise of it is, okay? It's slightly off the beaten topic, but not really. As we all know, Michael Moore might be one of the most polarizing figures in America today.
And repulsive.
But plenty of redeeming qualities. This is a man who, for all the negative, there's plenty of positive. He has been a champion of the people. He has put out some of the most thought-provoking commentaries of our time. And, his greatest flaw is that he's a little too socialistic. And when he puts out all these glowing things about how the world needs to change, he fails to discuss the economics of why they don't work. But
a great cat.